Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a framework that's basically going to rewire how you think about fitness and aging. We all pour so much sweat, money, and energy into trying to stay strong, mobile, and injury-free for our entire lives. But what if the vast majority of what we do in the gym is just entirely wrong? Well, we're going to unpack the pure science of human biomechanics to reveal the only 5 exercises your body actually needs to thrive.
So here's a truly staggering insight for you. 80% of the exercises people do in a standard gym setting are practically useless for long-term functional health. I know, that sounds totally wild, especially with a multi-billion-dollar fitness industry telling us otherwise. But when we strip away the marketing and just look purely at biomechanics, it turns out that most popular workout routines actually set us up for inevitable pain and stiffness as we age. We're literally pouring 80% of our effort into isolated movements that simply don't translate to real-world, long-term resilience.
To fix this, we're going to break down the only 5 pillars of movement you actually need. We'll bust the useless workout myth, build bulletproof joints, establish real-world strength, tackle the ultimate gravity test, and then tie it all together with a weekly training routine you can start today. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the useless workout myth. It's time to shatter some deeply ingrained illusions about posture and that lingering stiffness you might be feeling as the years go by. Let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like your back is just stuck in a constant state of suffering, no matter how much you try to stretch it out? Most of us just surrender, right? We assume it's an unavoidable part of getting older. But what if the conventional advice we've been religiously following to protect our backs is the exact thing making the stiffness worse? Standard stretching almost always fails because it doesn't actually address the biological root cause of spinal weakness. You know the golden rule of lifting, right? Keep your back perfectly straight. Never bend your spine. Well, modern sports science tells a completely different story. Think about it like a bicep. Just like your bicep grows stronger when you curl a dumbbell, the discs and soft tissues in your spine actually adapt, thicken, and strengthen when they're exposed to movement and load. Avoiding spinal bending entirely is exactly why so many people's backs become fragile, rigid, and super prone to injury over time. Now, if you're wondering where that old, highly restrictive advice came from in the first place, it turns out the warnings against spinal bending were largely based on studies performed on dead cadavers. Yeah, dead spines. It's kind of the ultimate irony in fitness. A dead spine obviously can't adapt to stress, but your living, breathing, biological spine desperately needs movement to stay healthy, hydrated, and strong. And this leads us perfectly into the first essential movement that actually heals the back, rather than just temporarily stretching it. Which brings us to Section 2, bulletproof back and knees. Let's look at how to actively put literal armor on your most vulnerable joints. Enter the Jefferson Curl. This isn't just a stretch. It's a profound, foundational strength exercise for your spine. You start by standing on an elevated platform, feet hip-width apart, holding a very light weight. You tuck your chin firmly to your chest, and then, contrary to everything you've ever been taught, you slowly roll down one single vertebra at a time, letting that weight gently pull you into a fully rounded spine. It might feel completely counterintuitive at first, but this absolute control safely loads the spine in flexion. Then you just reverse it, consciously stacking each vertebra back up one by one until you're standing tall. By forcing those spinal tissues to adapt under a light load, you're essentially weatherproofing your back. It makes it incredibly flexible and highly pain-free over time. And when it comes to your knees, the science is equally shocking. Studies show that eccentric exercises, which just means movements where your muscle is lengthening while under tension, can drop knee pain by a massive 40%. That is huge. This doesn't just treat injuries, it stops them before they even happen. Professional athletes use this exact technique to prevent career-ending wear and tear, and it happens to be the biological secret to pain-free legs for the rest of us too. The essential movement that unlocks this 40% reduction is called the Reverse Nordic Curl. So you start on your knees, keeping a perfectly straight line from your head all the way down to your knees. Instead of sitting your hips back like a typical stretch, you engage your core tightly and lean your entire torso backward as slowly as humanly possible. Your quads are simultaneously stretching and intensely firing to resist the downward pull of gravity. Then you use those same quad muscles to powerfully pull yourself back up to the starting position. But listen, rushing ruins the magic here. The slower you go, the more armor you build around the knee joint. This is exactly how you guarantee you can comfortably get up and down from the floor with your kids or grandkids for decades to come. Let's move into Section 3, real-world functional strength. Because in everyday life, you rarely get to stand perfectly still while pushing a balanced bar up and down.
Real strength is about moving heavy things through space. You don't just lift things up, you carry heavy groceries, you lug awkward suitcases upstairs, you move heavy furniture around. The farmer's walk is arguably the most incredibly efficient movement for this. Simply by picking up heavy weights in each hand and walking, you fire up everything from your grip down to your calves all at once. Your forearms, shoulders, traps, core, and glutes are all working in total harmony to stabilize the load. It's functional power in its absolute purest form. Remarkably, science tells us that grip strength isn't just about how hard your hands can squeeze. It is actually a major scientific biomarker for your overall longevity. The stronger your grip, the lower your risk of systemic injuries, overall physical decline, and, incredibly, even lower rates of heart disease as you age. So the farmer's walk isn't just building muscles, it's building a deep, full-body endurance that actively protects your health span. But there's another major gap in typical workouts. We spend practically all of our time moving forward and back or straight up and down. Think of your standard squats and lunges. But life happens in 3 dimensions. Research proves that actively training side-to-side lateral movements can reduce your risk of falling by up to 50%. Ignoring this lateral plane leaves us entirely vulnerable to everyday trips, slips, and unexpected joint blowouts. To capture that 50% reduction in fall risk, we use the Cossack squat. You start in a very wide stance, way wider than a normal shoulder-width squat. You shift your weight entirely to one side, deeply bending that knee while keeping the opposite leg totally straight and planted on the ground. You'll really feel that deep, intense stretch in the inner thigh. And then you powerfully push back to the center. This absolutely bulletproofs your hips and ankles against the unpredictable, jerky movements of real life, eliminating the hidden weak spots that most gym routines completely miss. All right, Section 4, the ultimate gravity test. It's time to strip away the comfortable machines, the padded seats, and the cables, and look at raw, unadulterated power. There's a really good reason NASA relies heavily on the pull-up for its astronauts. It perfectly mimics the physics and pulling movements required when maneuvering in zero-gravity environments. And for decades, the military has used it as a foundational pass-or-fail metric. It is the ultimate, undeniable test of you versus the Earth's pull. There's no cheating and no leverage to hide behind. It's just true, functional upper body strength. The setup is beautifully simple, yet brutally hard. You grab the bar with your palms facing away from you, engage your core tightly so your body stays rigid, which prevents any of that swinging or momentum. Pull yourself up until your chin clears the bar, and crucially, lower yourself slowly and with total control back down to a true dead hang. Now, if you aren't quite there yet, don't worry about it. Heavy resistance bands can give you the vital boost you need to build up to a strict pull-up. The key is strict form, leading with your chest. And hey, once bodyweight becomes easy, you can start adding extra weight using a belt or vest to forge truly impenetrable back strength. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, your weekly training routine. Let's take all of these fundamental movements and integrate them into a highly actionable plan. Because knowing the exercises is only half the battle, right? Knowing how to program them is the real key to longevity. You absolutely do not need hours in the gym to see these transformative benefits. Here is your elegant, simplified matrix. We have the Jefferson Curl for unbreakable spinal strength, Reverse Nordics for bulletproof knees, Cossack squats for lateral mobility, pull-ups for vertical pulling power, and the farmer's walk for total body endurance. 2 to 3 days a week is genuinely all you need for this routine. But the absolute secret sauce here is in the notes section. Slow, controlled execution always beats rushing through repetitions. Quality of movement is absolutely everything. As the original source beautifully and succinctly summarizes, this isn't just another workout. It's a complete system to make you stronger, more mobile, and more injury-resistant for life. It's about fundamentally moving away from those endless, isolated, and pointless exercises that just wear down your joints over time, and instead adopting a minimalist, scientifically backed system for lifelong functional resilience. So, the crucial question I'll leave you with is this. Will you stick to the 80% that's practically useless, or will you redefine your strength and start training for the rest of your life? The choice and your future physical freedom is entirely in your hands. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.